I haven't progressed any over the course of several hours, so it might be a dream.
Time does flow strangely while you're playing that game, I have found.
Not like water. Yeah, more like sludge. If there's any movement at all.
I think that game's good.
I'm
pretty sure that game's good.
For what that game
really hard.
is, that game is great.
It's definitely the most fun I've had with a game that I've repeatedly yelled "fuck this" at and to.
I'm jealous as hell because I have not found any fun whatsoever in playing this game.
I find it comes in fits and starts, but it is there.
I'll have like a fist pump moment every now and again. It's like, yeah, I fucking beat that guy. But that's after like 3 or 4 hours of like just dead weight, like not making any progress whatsoever, beating my head against the ground.
Yeah.
Just death after death.
It has been frustrating and stubborn in a way that I feel like, I mean, their other games are kind of like that, but in a different way. It's kind of hard to characterize why it's different.
Yeah, it's
but it's hateful in a way that their other games have not been.
You know, in the other Dark Souls games, which I'm a big fan of, and I'm not bad at those games by any means, and I'm not playing this game like a Dark Souls game.
Yeah, you kind of can't.
I know exactly, but you know, the reward. I don't know, fulfillment, there's a little bit more in Dark Souls. Like there's a sense of wonderment around every corner in a way. Like you can find like cool items like hidden around, you know, I don't know, in a little cave or something like that. You know, remember getting the firebrand or something like that.
Sure.
You know, finding, you know, that cave and like making the game a little bit easier.
This game is remarkably straightforward by From Software standards.
I feel like to a point.
I mean, it's got tool tips. Like it's got ability tips that just pop up and say, "Here's exactly how this works."
Okay, in that regard, I thought you meant in its linearity.
No. I mean, like just explaining how it does things.
Sure.
You know, like I almost
but also
have to,
not enough. Sometimes.
Like maybe the single most useful thing in the entire game that I have found so far is holding down the attack button to thrust.
The thrust, yeah.
Which they don't tell you anywhere unless it happens to pop up on a loading screen.
Yeah.
So it doesn't explain everything, but like I almost have to wonder if Activision had something to do with just like, you know, all the items say exactly what they do.
Unless you go ahead and waste your Dragon's Tear by consuming it because you just assume that that's what you do because there's no tooltip on it.
I haven't got one of those yet.
I think that the game is being done a disservice by people continually trying to refer to it in like Dark Souls-ish.
There's enough similarities.
There's enough similarities to it, but if like, you know, the combat is its own thing. You know?
Totally.
It's I think the reward in that game comes from that combat.
Yeah.
And comes from like overcoming these, you know, similarly abilitied enemies over and over again. I mean, so like I feel like I was having like a fantastic time right out of the gate with it.
And you say that, but I mean,
you get to a point that's like
that's an apt description of a Souls game as well.
But like I guess like the other thing is like the Souls games are more about items and more about like that type of character building and stats and stuff like that also.
Right.
Yeah, like
what I'm mostly talking about is like the difficulty and like, you know, the somewhat linearity, at least in the beginning.
Sure.
And then, you know, losing progress, you know, and having to go through that area again
The death
and
mechanic
again
is harsh.
and again, just like an old school, like arcade game. You know, that's where the similarities lie. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
you can't cheese this game the way you can cheese a Souls game, and you can't grind to be stronger like you can in a Souls.
Exactly.
Right.
That and so I think like that's the really interesting thing about it is that the difficulty comes from you getting good at the combat.
Yes. Like I was about to say, I will never use the phrase "get good" in earnest, but like that's what you have to do in this game.
Yeah,
to move on.
not to say, and I'm sure obviously like, you know, the Dark Souls games have an element of that, right? Like, you know, you have to fucking approach it on its terms to a certain extent.
But again, you could spend 10 hours getting more health before you go back to that boss. Or something like that.
I'm really impressed by the kind of the dynamic difficulty that the game kind of builds around it, where if you're just kind of in there doing well, you're building up skill points like that, right? If you're just like going through, I hit a pretty hot streak kind of right after the first
boss,
like the main first boss.
Is that the horse guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
And where I was like going back through and fighting mini bosses that I had kind of passed over, and I was beating them on my first encounter.
Are there mini bosses you can skip?
Oh yeah, actually there's like a dude right at, you know, the ogre who's like chained up.
Yeah.
And there's a guy right after him.
Oh, with
in
the
like, courtyard.
There's like a frying pan guy above him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh, did you just go around?
I just like said, "Fuck this!" I'm so scared right now. I don't
you totally
fight.
could actually. You totally could stealth your way around that guy and just not even fight him.
Yeah.
Huh, interesting.
But like I was, I all of a sudden found myself at like 4 skill points, and suddenly I had unlocked an ability to make the game more rewarding to my play style because I was doing well. Like I like that it rewards you for doing well by giving you more access to money, which is kind of useful, but then really those skill points that build out to the 3 different skill trees.
I guess you know what I should amend something I just said, which is that you can grind skill points out. It's just that there's not much on that skill tree. At least I haven't gotten all the books, so I haven't seen every tree.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much on that tree that will just straight up make the game easier, though. It's like more options, more techniques, but it's not like here's 3 times the health you get.
There's one that you get the health back from death blows.
That's the one that I really want.
That's the one that
seems super useful.
It's not a ton of health, but it's enough to make a difference, I can tell.
Especially because, it doesn't take that long before you can deal with regular enemies without getting hit, So
yeah. Oh God, the first time I went through an encampment, it was the one right before that boss. It was my first try. I went through. I killed every dude in there without getting hit.
The one where the mini boss guy is that you were just talking about?
No, it's like right
actual boss.
It's right before the actual boss. Okay. It's kind of like a castle, a multi-level little castle area, and that moment was really the it wasn't anything flashy or grandiose. Like I didn't get a big reward for killing all those guys or anything, but it was just that moment where and Patrick Klepek wrote an article kind of talking about the game and how it kind of tests you along the way with different mini bosses that kind of test you on different things. But going through that area felt like I had passed my first test on my first try, and that kind of reward spoke to me in a way that I never got from Souls games.
I had the same experience with the mini boss you just mentioned, skipping.
Yeah,
I did the same thing. I spent 15 minutes meticulously stealth killing because there's 8 guys around him, and if shit pops off and they're
2 of them have guns,
if any of them are still alive when you try to fight that guy, forget it. They're all just gonna rush you. So I spent 15 minutes picking each guy off stealthily, fought that guy and beat him on my first try, and it was holy shit, I get this game now. But if I had died on him and had to go do that whole stealth run again just to fight him again, I would have just turned the game off. So it's very hot and cold for me.
I agree.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've just had more cold moments, I guess, with it. That's unfortunate because this seems like my kind of game, And from what I had seen and heard, prior to release, I was super into it.
Yeah, it's a weird mix. I mean, I guess it's the first time we've talked about it since it came out, but it's there's a lot of traditional stealth mechanics in there,
right?
Sure.
And the fighting is
platforming.
Yeah,
sure. You really you really start to get.
You have a jump button. You're mobile in a way that their games are never
that first area. I don't know, I'm talking about necessarily what happens, but after that mini boss where you're kind of using the grapple a lot for the first time, and it's the first place where you have to kind of jump grapple. It tells you, sometimes you can't reach a thing and you have to jump for it, but there's areas before where you can use that. And you're just going through and platforming and not doing any fighting for, 15 minutes, kind of dodging things. I thought that was really cool. I like how mobile you can feel in this game. I like how generous it is with the grappling hook. I think that's really important. You can kind of just, if you initially miss it and you mash, you'll more often than not grapple to something. I like that it doesn't punish you there. I can see this game being really
longer, man.
Do
you get an upgrade later, maybe?
I haven't, but okay. I would.
I don't know if there was.
I feel like when the grapple points go off screen, they're a little hard to track. The indicator around the edge of the screen is not.
It does tend to flip around.
It's kind of hard to track where the grapple point is if it gets out of view.
I wish it was easier to see. The white and the green, I guess they're just a little too similar for me.
Yeah. Did you have any issues with that?
I'm looking for the circle to fill up because it's closer to the circle fills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
That'll probably just come better in time. But
yeah.
And I like how they start incorporating it into boss fights, the grapple. There's multiple bosses where they all do a big move and you can kind of grapple to them. And then if you have the skill, you can do an air attack when you grapple.
Yeah, that stuff's cool.
I've got that skill.
I
haven't been able to use anything yet. But
I found some enemies way harder to counter than others for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That spear dude, we got to him in the quick
he
look.
was the first, the brick wall.
I left that. I finally, you have not?
I have not.
Okay, that makes me feel better because I finally, I went home after that quick look and just beat my head against that guy and could not beat him. And I was like, fucking, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah.
Finally, somebody said, just leave and go do something else, and I did, and I was like, okay, now I'm making progress again.
Oh man, I could not.
There was certainly an amount of surrendering your pride and leaving there, but
You get attack up after you beat the first boss. You get more attack damage, and that helps a lot.
That was super gratifying too, because when I left that guy, I went back to the main path, and you fight the ogre, and then you fight the guy after that, and like you're immediately getting like, oh, you just got a skill that makes healing heal more at a time.
Potent, yeah.
You also just got another use of your Estus flask or the healing gourd or whatever. Like
And then did you get the thrust skill?
So
like
I had that.
Thrust
You
skill?
mean the counter?
Yes.
The thrust counter? Yeah. So that's what I was going to say is I never dialed in the timing on that spear guy. Countering.
It took me a while. Like I finally had to watch a video, and the guy was like, you hold up, like you hold towards, and you hit the counter.
Like
button.
the regular, the block?
you can
not
hold it
the
any
block,
direction.
like the dodge. I'm
So
sorry.
won't that make you just dodge at him?
It activates the counter.
It works.
Yeah, there's
That's
like a
what you have to
window.
do.
I saw
But you have
on-
to hold forward too, and that's what I was absolutely not doing it. Like I was holding to the side and holding back and just holding neutral, but I never tried forward because it didn't seem intuitive. But that's apparently how you had.
I read on Reddit that I don't know if it's just the thrust attacks or all of them, but people said there are sound cues associated with counter timing.
Oh, that would
There's-
make
Like
there's
sense.
they were
visual
specifically
cues,
talking
yeah.
about that guy because so many people were complaining about him. That there's like it's like a 2 violin string kind of stinger as he's attacking.
Little
You're supposed to counter like right on the end of that sound, and that apparently can help. But fuck that guy.
Yeah. Once I got like it was one shot. Like I just had to go through.
Oh, so
that
you
one
have
time.
beaten him?
Yeah, I have.
Oh wow. I heard it just gets harder past that fuck door.
It's not fun.
Yeah. I also heard, and I haven't found it, that the whatever tool you use to split wood defenses is somewhere else.
It's
not in that area?
No, it's in
Or it
that
is in
area.
there?
It's
Okay.
shortly
Somebody was
before
telling
that
me
guy.
you went off somewhere else to find it.
Shortly before that guy, there's a
Little temple.
Because there's
Yeah.
like wooden shield guys around there
Yeah.
that you can't fight without that tool.
that
got a
tool's
neutral
really
that's
really handy.
badass.
It's not even against like just the sword guys or the shield guys, I should say. It'll do a lot of posture damage to people.
Yeah, I just unlocked the third skill tree, which starts with a combat art that's just a big like kind of Bushido overhead or kendo overhead strike that does a bunch of posture damage, and I like that they're kind of now feels like different weapons.
Now you kind of like brute force like a little bit.
Yeah, like if you
more.
want to go
Not
down that
just spamming,
path,
but
if you want to be like the kind of one big
Like a heavy-
hit path versus, like the windmill flurry and stuff like that, you can kind of, there's only one weapon as opposed, again, I'm going back to comparing it to a Souls game, but, for people who haven't played it yet, kind of I immediately, I know a lot of people's concerns were like, oh, there's only one weapon and it's only going to encourage one kind of play style.
There's no armor to equip. There's no stats really other than health and attack power.
But these branching paths in the combat arts, and which now that I have 5 prosthetics, and so now it's a really like I'm kind of always changing which 3 I'm carrying with me.
Wait, can you? I don't have more than 3. Do you have to go back to the temple to swap?
No,
out
you can
the
you
3?
can swap them on the fly, but I'm not often like thinking about it mid battle or anything. It's like, okay, I see like over there's a really big guy. I'm gonna see if like the firecrackers work on him or whatever.
Yeah, like I mean, another aspect of it being kind of straightforward is like that giant early on, the guy that's tied up. Like,
Yeah.
I may be mistaken, but I feel like when you eavesdrop on the guys right before him, they straight up say in their conversation, like, "Oh, he hates fire."
they're talking about him.
Like
yeah.
it's very obvious, and if you may not have gotten the flamethrower thing by then, but I did.
Yeah.
So like they basically spell out like, "Hey, set this guy on fire, and he'll be a lot easier." And I did, and he was.
Yeah, and I found a giant later on too that worked spectacularly well.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So on the one hand, that's cool, but on the other hand, they are spelling some stuff out for you. I feel like that.
Thankfully,
They might not have in the past. I don't mind it necessarily.
Yeah, I kind of feel like with how rapidly you can just get ripped up in
Yeah.
a fight,
Yes.
like that. That's interesting to me. Having the difficulty there.
Yeah.
In
The time to death is, especially early on, is
right.
really brutal.
Well, that's that's the thing that kind of reminds me of like a Bushido blade,
Yeah,
and
sure.
there's that idea of that one big
That was the
hit that
first
just
thing
like
I-
straight murders somebody.
The first thing I thought with like my first hour or two with
Yeah.
the game, I was like, dude, this game's like Bushido Blade.
Yeah,
It's like Tenchu and Bushido Blade and a little bit of
Exactly.
Souls.
Yeah, and I think that's what I like about it. Is
Yeah.
it kind of feels more like this kind of post Souls thing of like, okay, we're kind of using the trappings of that, but now we've as much as other games have tried to do it and maybe stuck a little too close to the Soul stuff, I feel like this one breaks free in way more meaningful ways than a lot of that other stuff did. And
Yeah, it's almost like they're like, okay, you've got the general idea and vibe of our stuff. Now,
Right.
now we're going to emphasize precision and punishment in a way we haven't before.
it's like they're treating the Souls stuff as like this blueprint for like, here's the kind of post, kind of modern day action platformer blueprint.
Yeah, totally.
But we've mapped this totally different thing onto it.
I felt a little vindicated because at first I thought I liked Tenchu and Bushido Blade, but the more I played of it, it started reminding me of like Ninja Gaiden for the Xbox, the Team Ninja one, and I started seeing some other people saying they felt the same way because it is almost like I remember when that game came out, like even in the GameSpot office, like the word around the office was like, this thing is like
really
kind of a fighting game.
Yeah, there's weirdly technical when you think about what that type of game had been up to that point. You were like, man, it's like command grab.
This has a bunch of command inputs and weird counters and dodges, and like it's almost like every time you face off against somebody, you're in a fighting game match.
Yeah,
not fully, but
I guess like that's the thing. Is like the AI in those games felt like dumb.
Yeah,
and you could mash your way through a lot of them.
Sure. It's just that depth was there if you wanted to engage with it. Like here, you have to engage with it.
I think that's what it does. That's better than those games. Is I feel like it puts more of the enemies on more equal footing with you than that game ever did.
Yeah.
Though once you kind of spend time with it, you really are just like, okay, come at me, ching, dead, move on. Like like that's not tough.
Like I found a lot of the fodder enemies, you can just like thrust at them and they won't block the first hit, and you can go straight into a death blow from there.
They can't block the thrust. The thrust is unblockable.
Okay.
It just takes a little while to wind up.
Sworn, maybe
it says right in the tool.
Oh, really? Okay.
I wonder if large shields maybe do something against that.
Maybe, yeah.
Have you guys fought any of the rats yet? The assassins?
No.
Oh, those little fuckers.
Oh no.
Oh my god. They're tiny. Fun. They got big old straw hats that are like shields, and they just kind of run at you with their hat down. Yeah, they flip around. They
wait a minute. Are they really short little guys?
They're like real round guys.
Is there one of those in the tutorial area under the bridge?
Under the bridge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
so you can sneak up on that guy. Probably. They start traveling in packs.
There's another aspect of having just sort of like a global rule set that everything abides by is the fact that stealth kills work on everything, or not kills, but like
It's
like spear dude in front of that fog gate, you can totally get one free
even
stab on him.
Even named mini boss enemies with like a health bar in the top of the screen, you can roll up and take half their health off with a nice stealth kill, or like that ogre that roams that first big area.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't beat him normally, and then I just happened to get behind him, and he just died in one hit.
Just fries
without seeing me coming. Like I love a game where you can just sort of bend the rules like that.
Yeah.
Or take advantage of them.
Right. Or they apply the rules.
You don't feel like they're
globally.
cheating.
Yeah. It's not like, oh, well, this guy, I mean, you could say like, hey, anyone that can withstand one death blow and it just takes half his health, like that's a dumbass video gamey thing, but
they've got
it works.
Spirits within.
Yeah, okay. A UMD copy that like is just like pinned to their back and blocks the sword hit.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
You guys mentioned the fighting game, and I really love those those one-on-one moments. I love being able to dodge and parry. But I find that when I'm having the least amount of fun is when I'm getting just outpowered by a bunch of enemies.
Yeah, getting ganged up on is not. It's not an ideal situation.
That stuff happens. Yeah, a ton. Like
you got to run.
Yeah, they do give you the tools to get out.
Yeah,
of there.
You got to grapple somewhere.
That is one option, but I find a lot of options where they're just three enemies right there, and they're not moving. I can't peel one off. Like what do I do?
Yeah.
Like do I have to?
You just have to, in my experience, you just have to break line of sight and kind of let them go on patrol.
Right,
yeah.
But sometimes they won't. Like they're set. Like I'm up against a boss right now that there's 7 guys in there, and I can't peel them off. They're all standing there waiting for me, and it's like, what do I do?
Have you tried shards? Do they not go for the ceramic shards at all?
I've thrown those things and they do nothing. I don't understand what they do.
Like figuring out where they're gonna hit is so hard.
Yeah, I was gonna ask
but like
if there's
I'm
a way
kind
to
of spamming them.
That
I can't aim them.
If you lock onto an enemy, it'll throw it at them, which will like alert them, but they won't always move. You have to like throw it in front of them. I haven't gotten the aim down on those at all, but I've had it just like, I'm going to throw all 10 of these because I don't know what else I'm going to do with them, and eventually I could get a guy to move a little bit, and that would be enough to just kind of leash them off. But it's not ideal. It'd be nice if you could like hold the button to kind of aim it.
Yeah, I want to make a guy. I want to turn a guy around, make him walk the other direction if I can. I haven't looked if you can remap buttons.
I just want the three fuckers on the other side of the bridge to actually just like come over one at a time or something, because I can't. Oh man,
I think having the item use button on the same thumb as the move is kind of rough. Like
Yeah.
having to move your thumb from move character up to use item,
Like,
like
you
in
hit
that,
that flick.
in that split second of having to stop moving, like that can make all the difference, which is kind of rough.
I wish that the English VO was worse.
Oh, did you try it? I haven't even tried
Yeah,
it.
no, I wanted to
wanna
hear
give it a
it
shot.
as like a dubbed
Like
kind of martial
PS2.
arts
Is
Is it,
experience. And
is it all British accents? Because they
No.
always, I was wondering because their games are almost always fully British
Not-
in English.
It's some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess like it's I don't think the English VO is like especially good, but it's not like bad. And I don't necessarily want like full on martial arts awful dub. But I feel like there's like a there's like a Wu-Tang Clan sample like range somewhere in
A
there.
little melodramatic.
I will, yeah. I alone am best. Like that type of shit. That
Have you seen my killer tattoo?
Yeah, exactly. Stuff a martial artist would say.
The game has such a like a grim vibe to it, though. Like it's so self-serious.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I kind of want the original dialogue.
I think playing in Japanese is probably they kind of guide you in that direction pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's what made me want to go like I want to hear this English VO that you're desperately trying to get me to not select.
It's funny when you start the game, they're like, this comes with Japanese audio. That's fine, right? Right?
Yeah, right.
You could change it,
You could change it. I mean, this is the default.
Yeah.
And then Japanese is on the list twice. It's like Japanese default, and then at the bottom again is Japanese.
People hate subtitles. Yeah, it's. I want to play it, and I also don't.
Yeah, I'm having
I
a
don't
great
know.
time.
It's really good, but it is a harsh master.
Each time I rage quit out, I'm like, no. Why am I wasting my time? I'm having no fun with this. But then I get away from it for a little bit, and I'm like, no, oh man, I should be doing
It's easy. I
doing
just have
this.
to parry. All I have to do is hit the parry button.
Yeah, what am I even doing?
I've got that like that. Oh man.
So there's I looked it up just because I was curious if it was there, and now I'll curse you with this knowledge too, is that there's like a pretty good looking cheat engine table for that game.
Really? I did get it on PC,
Yeah.
which is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
So I guess like also that game is like frame locked or has a frame cap on it.
Sure.
So
See?
people have hacked that out, I guess, but I don't know.
Already
Fine.
though,
as
with the
long
frame
as it's
cap,
60 and 1080, like I'm fine.
better
with
than
that.
what I'm working with on the PS3 or PS4 regular. It's not unplayable, but it like really hitches in some spots.
Yeah, even the Pro is not super consistent.
I've not. Yeah, I feel like I had a couple of people. Or I saw a couple of people really complaining about base level PS4 version.
Yeah, PC definitely the way to play that game if you can.
Yeah, but I want to unlock that frame rate because now I'm that asshole.
You paid a lot for
You got
that
that
monitor.
monitor.
I paid a lot to be this asshole.
Yeah.
It's a privilege.
That's
to
right.
Be this asshole.
This thank you're welcome. That's
I'm
what I'm saying.
Part of me wants to ask where this game goes later on, but I really shouldn't, both for the sake of the audience and myself. Like I was surprised early on how grounded it is. There's some kind of peripheral
You mean like
supernatural
the
elements, but it's like
supernatural-
but like Souls games, like right off the bat, you're fighting like lizard men, and
Giant
skeletons,
dragon.
and in this game you're mostly just fighting human beings,
Or
with-
like really fucked up humans.
right, yeah. Like occasionally there's a giant human being,
Yeah.
occasionally there's a rooster.
Oh, with really grody
Oh, the
butts too.
fucking roosters,
Yeah, the roosters
man.
are real dicks.
Holy
Oh
shit.
God, they're scary as hell. Jesus, you get into one where there's like 6 in a pen and they just murder you.
Yeah, but
My
they
God,
can go a little nuts.
why are they 6 feet tall?
And, there are
They feed
references.
them well.
Yeah,
They're chocobos.
Yeah.
Obviously there are like references to Buddha and Dragonrod and some kind of metaphysical concepts, but like in terms of giant monsters and weird shit, there wasn't a lot right up until there was.
I fought a
And I don't
very
know if I
large
wanna-
animal that's very scary, but again, it's just like a big animal.
Right.
And it's nothing,
Well-
it's not too...
I mean, is it the same big animal I'm thinking about?
Is it right after the horse guy?
No. It's actually right after the mini boss that you said you skipped.
Oh.
Did you run past
Oh,
him?
yeah, that. I
It's
was
kind of in a
thinking
canyon.
That. That's an even bigger
Like
animal.
you jump between some
That's the
grapple
part I was
points
talking
and
about with the platforming, yeah.
I want to say what it is, but it was such a holy shit moment that I'm just going to leave it. But that was where I was just like, there's something weird going on in this game
that
after all.
sequence is really cool.
I didn't know what to do there, though.
Me
I
neither.
died.
I
and
slammed
then
my head against it a lot.
Can you just get through it?
Yeah. Wait, how did you get...
Well, I didn't.
we'll
I didn't get through it. I just.
Oh.
I didn't know if I wasn't supposed to be there yet, or if I needed something to kill it.
slow down is like a good general.
Yeah, it
tip,
seemed like
and
it was
watch
kind of
what's
almost a stealth
happening.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to okay. And then I went the other way, and it was like, you're gonna fight ghosts if you go this way.
Oh yeah, I saw that. There was like a thing. It's like a note. It's like, hey, there's ghosts in here. Our swords didn't work.
Yeah, you
don't
can't
go there.
You can't hit these guys. Maybe don't go this way.
And of course, what did I do? Oh, there might be items over there.
Maybe I can stealth kill a ghost.
Yeah, I mean, there's one item right before you get there that basically says, "Hey, this will let you hit ghosts."
Oh,
But I only had one of them, and I didn't know if that was going to be it.
right.
I don't know. Do the paths fan out a lot as you
Oh
go?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There's like one more mini boss after that main first boss, and then right there you kind of like I by accident started going one way, and I hit a little statue, and I was like, okay, I don't want a main line. I'm gonna go back, and I went another way and hit another little statue. So it really I feel like there's like 4 different paths I can go
Okay,
down
cool.
at this point.
Cool, because it did feel a little more linear than I was looking for early on, but yeah, it seems like it's opening up.
Good.
Yeah, I guess we'll all continue to slam our heads against that thing.
When I started playing that game, I was like, I'm gonna keep track of how many times I die. Just write down little notches on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then I lost my pen, and I was already at like 30.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Yep.